So Shadi season's going on and a lot of us are probably looking for foundations that last through all the drinking, dancing, tears and other shenanigans. Now, I know that every video on the internet right now is talking about skin tints that look so natural and sheer and skin-like, but I'm still a full coverage girl when it comes to events like weddings and things like that. So that's why I am going to list my favorite full coverage foundations. So because I have acne and hyperpigmentation and ice pick scars and a lot of texture, my skin is the perfect candidate for testing out a foundation that claims to be full coverage. Because trust me, if it's not full coverage, I will know, my skin will know. So today I'm going to list my favorites. They are all different price points. So let's get started. First on my list is the Maybelline Superstay 24-hour full coverage foundation. Now they've launched a Lumi version of the Superstay. I have tried that. I couldn't find a great shade match for myself, so I'm sticking to this one. And this cost 750 rupees when I bought it. You can get it for much cheaper if you buy during sales. I wear the shade 128 Warm Nude. The coverage is good, but as you can see, I'll need a little more to cover everything. When it comes to the kind of coverage it gives, I feel like it can look a little thick on the skin, almost borderline cakey. But I feel like if you have oily skin, it's going to work just fine. It won't look too matte and it's not going to look too cakey on you. So it really depends. If you have dry skin, I would recommend staying away from this because I feel it looks a little too heavy and powdery on the skin. So it's a great product if you're on a budget and you need a good amount of coverage. But for a few hundred rupees more, you can get better products. I will say that. Next one I have is the L'Oreal Infallible 32-hour Fresh Wear Foundation with Vitamin C and SPF 25. This foundation I expected to be very heavy and cakey looking because it said infallible, it said long lasting, all of these things. So I was picturing something that is on the drier side, but that's not what this is like at all. It's not thick, it's not cakey. This retails for rupees 1099, which is not a bad price, but for the drugstore, it's on the more expensive side. Like if you're paying over 1000 rupees for a drugstore product, I mean, it's a really drugstore. That said, everything is expensive now, so I don't know what to say. This is what the L'Oreal Infallible in 220 Neutral looks like on my skin. It's kind of runny. The shade match is not completely ideal for my skin tone normally, but when I have a tan, this is perfect. And I have a bit of a tan right now. I was quite surprised by how thin this is and how non-cakey and non-heavy it is. This lasts really well throughout the day. It has SPF 25, but I don't feel like that's enough, so I always wear a sunscreen underneath. I think the texture, the finish, everything is really good. You can see it's not accentuating my dry patches. I'm currently using tretinoin, so it makes my skin flake. The coverage is great. Like, I've only used one pump and this is just one layer, but I would need minimal concealer with this, so I'm quite impressed with this. The other thing about this is that I feel like maybe because it contains vitamin C, I feel like it oxidizes on me a little bit. I think it looks a little bit orange on me, but when I have a tan, that's kind of okay because I have a little bit of warmth in my skin at that time. The next one on my list is also a L'Oreal foundation because I had never tried a L'Oreal foundation until like 8 months ago, and then randomly one day I went to the mall and I bought 2 L'Oreal foundations. I don't know why. This one is the L'Oreal True Match Super Blendable Foundation with Hydrating Hyaluronic Acid. This one is also rupees 1099, the same as the Infallible. But I felt that the shade match with this was really good. My shade is 3.R/3.C, Cool Undertone. I think this is called Rose Beige. Somebody told me they're discontinuing this shade, which if that's true, I will cry. But shockingly, I haven't heard many people talk about the coverage of this. This is really lightweight, and as the name suggests, it does actually blend really well. So they're not wrong there. I love the way this matches my skin tone. Again, true to the name. And this has coverage that is as good as Infallible, which I have not heard anyone talk about. Like, everyone calls Infallible the L'Oreal foundation that has good coverage and really full coverage. I got the impression that True Match is going to be more like a lightweight, easy to blend, skin-like foundation, which it is. It is skin-like. It's more skin-like, I think, than Infallible in my opinion. On me, it looks much more natural. I felt that the coverage that this gives is at par with Infallible. They give the same amount of coverage in my opinion, because I have acne. So I'm actually a good person to be able to sort of tell you what really gives coverage, because I have a lot of stuff to cover. It is very hydrating, that is true. This is what I tend to reach for when my skin is more flaky and just sort of generally irritated. It just makes my skin look so fresh and dewy and natural, which doesn't happen with a lot of foundations, even though I'm really oily. This has been one of my favorite foundation discoveries in the recent past. I've been wearing it for some time and I feel like the finish it gives my skin is so good. It feels like I'm wearing nothing on my skin. It looks really natural and it feels quite lightweight as well. Based on the reviews that I read before buying it, I had thought that this will be very much like a skin tint and it's not going to give any coverage, but I felt the coverage this gives is at par with the Infallible. The next one on my list is the NYX Total Control Pro Drop Foundation. This used to be a bigger bottle. I was sent this in PR very long ago, like I think 6-7 years ago. I have repurchased this thrice since. I bought a bottle for my mom. I've recommended it to a lot of people. This is $12.99 for a very small amount of product. I think this has 13 ml, which is very less in my opinion. So I only buy it on sale. I feel like this gives really good coverage for what it is. It's so thin. It's probably the thinnest foundation I've ever used that gives this amount of coverage. This has a really runny texture and it's almost like water on the skin. And this has a fair amount of silicones because it feels so smooth on the skin. It feels like nothing on the skin. It's very silky and lightweight. I really recommend this for summer weddings. The finish of this is also quite skin-like. I don't feel that it's very matte or very dewy, and it just wears through the day really well. I was shocked. I thought that because it's really thin, it's going to break up on my skin. That never happened. It did get a little more oily looking, and initially it looks very satiny, silky matte, but it performed so well. The other reason I love NYX, especially this range, is that the shade range is amazing. The undertones are so perfect because I have neutral skin and it's very hard for me to find a foundation that doesn't lean too cool or too orange or too yellow or too, just generally isn't neutral, right? I have found a lot of shades in the NYX range that work for me during different times of the year, and they all work really well for my undertone. They don't look off. So I'm super impressed. I feel like NARS is the only other brand where I've had like this much of a smooth experience when it comes to undertone matching. It's just the price I feel is a little high for the amount of product you get. So sorry, I have another NYX product. Okay, this was also initially sent to me in PR, but they sent me the wrong shades. But I mixed the two shades together and I loved it so much I went and bought my shade. This is the NYX Professional Makeup Can't Stop Won't Stop Full Coverage Foundation. You get 30 ml. This claims to give 24-hour wear with a matte finish. This is $14.99. I always buy it on sale because I like saving money. I'm an economist. I wear the shade Natural. The biggest issue I have with this is actually the pump. I have two other bottles and both of them often get jammed, and I just use a safety pin to unclog the pump. This one's a little more heavy duty than the Total Control Pro Drop Foundation. I would say it's a little thicker, but it also gives better coverage. And even though it does that, I still don't feel like it looks cakey on the skin. I still, like for the longest time, this has been one of my favorite foundations. It's just that the pump on this is quite irritating. I've had other bottles of this also and all of them have been like this. The coverage is so good. It covers all my acne. I don't know that I have experienced that with a lot of foundations that claim to be full coverage. Like for example with the Maybelline one, the Superstay, I have to use 2-3 pumps and I will always need concealer on top for it to conceal everything, all the discoloration. Whereas with this, I feel like one layer is enough. And I genuinely don't think my skin looks cakey when I use this. The shine and the skin-like quality is still retained. It just doesn't look powdery or, that dusty look that you get when you wear foundations that are really full coverage sometimes. I don't feel that with this. I have repurchased and repurchased and repurchased, and I still can't recommend this enough. For a not so expensive, semi-drugstore, semi-professional makeup brand, this is stellar. This has been my favorite foundation, I think, for at least 3-4 years. I always wear this for important events. Again, it was not hard for me to find my shade. The undertone matches are great. when it comes to mix. I feel like they do really well. Surprisingly, when I had read 24-hour matte finish, this, that, I had expected it to be quite a lot heavier than it was. Doesn't feel thick or cakey, doesn't accentuate texture, doesn't accentuate dry patches, which is saying something because with a matte foundation, typically you would expect a little bit of crustiness. With this, nothing. It's a great product. I have no complaints at all. Now coming to the last product, and I'm sorry if I sound biased, but my favorite product. This is the Shiseido Synchro Skin Self-Refreshing Foundation with SPF 35 PA++++. I got mine from Japan. It was a struggle to shade match. I don't know if they just have less shades in Japan, but in India you get a good amount of shade options in this. This retails for 4100 rupees, but you can get it for much less on sale. For the amount of product you get, this is a good price, because the NYX one, the full price is 10.99 for 13 ml. This is 30 ml. So 4100 being the full price of a product that is so good, so full coverage. Like, I'm wearing it right now, and how good does my skin look? My skin is not that good. I have the shade 330 Bamboo. I think this shade is a little light. I'm not sure. I was tanned when I bought it. It's a whole thing. But I love this foundation. I think this is my favorite foundation ever, ever, ever. And you'll see why. Oh, the way it covers everything, and the way it just looks like nothing on the skin. This makes my skin look like skin but gives such good coverage. It's making my skin a little bit dewy, but it's not oily dewy. And the skin-like freshness that you get from this is maintained throughout the day. So I'm obsessed with this. This exceeded all expectations. This foundation, I never expected it to look this natural while giving this much coverage. I first heard of it when Jackie Aina was talking about it, and I really respect her opinion. So I went and bought it. Regina George wears army pants and flip-flops, so I wanted to wear army pants and flip-flops. Except Jackie Aina is really nice, I'm sure. Not that I've met her. But this product is so good. It looks like nothing on the skin but covers everything. But because it's a bit expensive, I use it sparingly. It does have SPF, so you can wear it for all those day weddings and, you know, like functions that happen in the morning. And I would obviously use a sunscreen underneath as well, but SPF 35 is a very good SPF for a foundation. Typically, you don't get this much. Most foundations have like 15, 25 or even less. If there is one fancy foundation that you want which gives like amazing coverage, I would recommend trying this one. I know everyone expects me to say Luminous Silk. I did wear it for my wedding, but it doesn't last as well through the day as this does. That is the main reason I love this. My skin is really oily. A lot of foundations break down around my chin and kind of separate throughout the day, even the best ones. But this one, no sir, that does not happen. It looks so good. I'm shocked. Like, at the end of the day, whenever I wear this, I keep looking at myself in the mirror. I'm like, is this really my skin? If you use a nice primer underneath, if you have oily skin like mine, you know, a mattifying silicone one, it's really going to help control those oils that break down your makeup and make things last even more. Especially if you pair it with a good setting spray and a good powder that really locks everything. With that, I'm going to end this video. I hope you guys liked my recommendations. I know I was recommending 2 products from 2 brands, but I genuinely like those products. I bought it with my own money, even though initially NYX was sent to me in PR. Nobody asked me to go out and repurchase them. I just loved them so much that I keep buying them again and again. Tell me if you've tried any of these foundations and how they work for you, and also tell me if there are any other full coverage foundations that you love, which you feel last really well through the day. If you had a wedding foundation that you used for your day or for someone else's as a bridesmaid, please let me know. I'm always looking for new foundation recommendations. Follow, like, comment and subscribe.